Hey guys, and welcome back to another Speakeasy interview. I am super excited to talk to you guys yet again. You guys know I always get excited when it comes to doing the Speakeasy podcast because we talk about the behind the scenes of what it is to be a speaker or an author. And that means that I get to pull back the veil and show you guys that some things are not as hard as you would think. Listen, sometimes y'all know what the deal is. We make things out to be a whole lot harder than it has to be because we're trying to impress somebody, because we're trying to do it how we saw somebody else do it. Well, guess what? Today's guest is going to have a great discussion with me when it comes to one of those things that authors tend to do when writing their book. And they end up setting themselves up to go into debt. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest. A lot of times we get so excited by the hype that we put ourselves out there. We go and we buy 5,000 copies of a book with no idea how to sell it, no idea about a marketing strategy or a profit plan or things of that nature. And you guys know that I always tell you, and as an author, as a speaker, you are also an entrepreneur. And there are some key elements to business that you really need to understand. And credit is at the top of the list. Because guess what? People should not be taking out loans to write a book. Listen, that is a serious crime. We're going to talk about it though. We're going to talk about it. So I'm excited, super excited about having today's guest on. Her name is Harrine Freeman. She has helped thousands of people nationwide take action and improve their financial status. She's a financial expert, speaker, counselor, writer, CEO, and owner of Freeman Enterprises. Freeman Enterprises is a financial services company that provides personal finance consulting services such as credit repair, debt reduction, budgeting, saving, planning for retirement, and financial literacy education and training to help consumers improve their financial lives. She's the best-selling author of How to Get Out of Debt, Get an A credit rating for free. Now, look, that just blew y'all away right there. I know it did. I'm gonna tell you why. Because some of you get, kind of snagged by some of these companies thinking you got to pay money to get out of debt. Well, before we go any further, I have to say hello and thank you for joining us today, Harrine. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm over here with the biggest smile on my face right now, having on today. So we can dig right into it because that credit is always that topic that nobody wants to talk about. It's that black mark on the family. It kind of like holds us back. So the first question I want to ask you is, as someone who helps in the credit industry, what would be the first thing that you would say to authors and speakers when it comes to them deciding that they're going to, start this journey?
The first thing I would say to them is do your research. A lot of mistakes are made when a person decides to become an author because they don't realize how much really goes into the process and what all is needed to deliver a quality product. Now, if you're not interested in delivering a quality product and you just want to get your book out or maybe give it to a few friends, that's fine. But if you have written a book and you actually want to get book sales, you want to develop some kind of platform, you want to get recognition, I definitely recommend do your research and do at least 3 to 6 months of research. Now, you may say, well, that's a lot of time, but the more information and knowledge you have about the entire process, the better product that you will produce and the better results you'll get in terms of recognition, brand awareness, and that kind of thing.
Definitely. And I think that's a big one because when it comes to doing the research, a lot of times we think that we could kind of skim past some things. Everybody's so fast and trying to want to get it done, get it done, get it done. And we're not saying that you can't get it done, but there are definitely some things that you should know before stepping out. You have to think about it. Somebody who's going scuba diving does not just go jump in the water with a straw in their mouth. There are some things, some key elements that they need to have in place before they take that dive. And so I know with authors, one of the biggest complaints has always been, especially prior to this whole big boom in self-publishing, was that literally authors would go and sign a contract and have to get 1,000 copies, 5,000 copies of a book, and then they don't know how to sell. And so ultimately, they put themselves into debt. Have you spoken to anybody like that?
Yes, I have. I know several people who have published a book and it's in their basement or in their garage or it's collecting dust because what we are just talking about, they didn't do their research, they didn't do their homework, they didn't learn about sales, they didn't learn about marketing, they didn't learn about PR, they didn't learn about brand awareness, just basics, creating a website, how to get your book into bookstores, how to get your book on Amazon. They didn't research any of that information, and as a result, they missed out on a great opportunity or potential opportunity.
Oh, that is so definitely true. I know that a lot of times when we focus so much on the end result, we miss things along the way all the time. Now, so with credit and financial preparedness, thinking about that in the industry that, we are in as authors, what has been the biggest complaint when it comes to you letting people know that they need your services? Because we know what people need, but we know that just because it's something people need is not always something people want to go for. So with finances and credit, that's something that people definitely need, but it's not necessarily something that they're eager to jump at. So what has been that, how's that conversation happen with you? Is it something that they have to come to you first? Are there opportunities that you go out into the community and speak to people, or go into schools and things of that nature? How do you present yourself in that field?
Well, that's a great question. I actually do all of those things. I do media interviews, I write articles, I have a blog, I have a monthly newsletter, I sell my books, I do speaking engagements, I go to churches, I go to civic and social organizations, I go to conferences, I get referrals. So I do a lot of things to get the information out there. So those are probably the main ways that I give the information to people.
And do you typically find a positive response when you're given the information?
Yes, there's always a positive response. And then just to continue what you were saying now, not everyone believes or not everyone is aware of how important credit is in your life and especially your financial life. So a lot of people don't take the opportunity to use my services. But I do still get people who see the need. But I wish that, more people would see the need. And I'm not saying they have to come to me, but just to see the need of the importance of repairing your credit, maintaining good credit.
Now, I know that I decided that I was going to be on a debt-free entrepreneur journey, that I wanted to be able to say that within 5 years of starting my business, that I was actually doing my business debt-free. And I got like side eyes from people because they were like, but if you're starting a business, you're supposed to go into more debt. Almost like that was kind of the norm.
Wow, I'm sort of speechless because I've never lived like that. I'm speechless. I mean, I know that that exists, but I'm just speechless because my entire business has been debt free. I've never applied for a business loan. I don't even have a business credit card because I don't need to have one. I pay, with debit card or pay with cash or check. I've never had the need to get business credit. But I think it just goes back, it boils down to lack of knowledge. People do not know the resources that are available. There are grants available for businesses. There's financial programs available for business owners. There's there's all kinds of free resources available to business owners. But if you don't know, then you assume your only option is to go into debt.
I think that's the biggest piece of it, is that you make that assumption, and we always know what assuming does. Look.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
So we make that assumption, and then we're kind of stuck in that position, but we've put ourselves in that position. And you guys know, those of you that you have been following the Speakeasy podcast for any amount of time, you know that I'm always telling you about missteps that I've made, moments where I've put money out for opportunities because I was kind of in the moment. You get in the moment. It's nostalgia. It's nostalgic. In that moment, you get excited about the opportunity of having a book published with your name on it, and it's out here in the world, and you don't consider the cost. So you stuck. And you got that even when it came to doing anthologies, that was like my turnoff for anthologies, because I had an experience where the investment it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was like, oh, you invest in being a part of it, and then when it's time to publish the book, after eons of trying to publish the book, when it's time to publish the book, you had to invest even more money in order to make it yours. It was like, that was something that I felt as though I should have done research before, and it was money that I had wasted. I learned my lesson from that. Definitely did. And that will not happen again. But I found that a lot of authors have come into that same mindset, because you get into that, you get excited. You really do. You get excited. Now, I want to say also, I want to pose this question to you. Do you find that there's more of a need when it comes to financial literacy, that there's more of a need for when it comes to single parents, or when it comes to two-parent homes?
I think it just depends on the person's particular situation. I mean, there are some couples who, have a small amount of debt, who've done very well with their finances. There are some couples who have gotten into a little bit of trouble. There are some couples who are definitely over their head. There are some single parents who don't have any debt. There are some single parents who have a small amount of debt. Some have a large amount of debt. I think it just depends on the person.
Because I know that of course, in the media, they always try to, put that stigma on single parents, that, single parents don't have very good financial literacy. They don't have very good, they don't know anything about finances, or they're not saving. They're not, cash savvy. Everything is credit. There's so many different things, single parents attempt to overcompensate especially during holidays like Christmas, try to overcompensate. And so they go and purchase a whole lot of things and end up, as a single mother, these have been some of the things that have been like thrown out into the air, and you kind of let them whiz on by. But I know that with this journey, I found that it wasn't so much being a single parent. It was more, what was I raised up thinking? What was the blueprint that I was given when it came to going to college? what did that look like for me? Was everybody around me taking out loans? Yeah. I wasn't around anybody that paid for college, paid for it outright, things like that. So I feel that stigma always, kind of rears its ugly head. But I have found that for me personally, it was more a thing of what did I witness growing up, and, what was the blueprint that was given to me in the early years? Because we forget that it's the early years, that when we catch them in the early years, that's when we can set a firm foundation. And so do you do programs for the younger children as well? I know that you just say that you go to schools, or are you more focused in colleges? Because I know sometimes with going to elementary schools, it's not always the easiest.
I have gone into middle schools and high schools and colleges. I haven't done too much at elementary schools. I just got a better response with administration for middle schools and high schools for financial literacy. Elementary schools don't really feel that financial literacy is important in elementary schools. So I do more with middle schools and high schools.
Oh, wow. And I mean, like, I remember way back when I was in elementary school that they used to have programs where the banks would come out and help you open up an account, when you were in elementary school. We don't really see that as much anymore.
Right. That's exactly right. And there's a number of reasons, there's security reasons, there's funding reasons, there's a change in curriculums. There's so many reasons why that doesn't happen, but there definitely is a need. As soon as your children start asking you about money, that's when you need to teach them about financial literacy. So they definitely need it in elementary school.
I agree wholeheartedly on that one. And then I know that for me, one of the ways that I've had those conversations with my children, because now they are teenagers and I am starting to get, a lot more education when it comes to finances and making sure that I'm not taking out loans to do things, this and that I'm putting myself in a position where you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Put yourself in a position where you have an emergency fund, where you have, the things that you need. So that way you're not trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's been interesting in teaching them because, for one, as an entrepreneur, they get a completely different mindset on finances. Because it's a whole lot different than if you're going and working for someone and you have a guaranteed amount that comes in. So trying to teach budgeting has been quite interesting. As you can imagine, as an entrepreneur, budgeting is kind of that, I don't want to say it's a gray area, but it kind of sort of is sometimes, because depending on how your business is set up, your finances aren't always coming in the same each month. So is there a trick? Am I doing it wrong? Or is there something else to know that would help in that area? Or am I okay? That's just the way it is for entrepreneurs?
Well, there is a guideline you can follow. So for entrepreneurs, your income can be variable. And so because of that, you need to create a variable budget. So you need to write down all of your monthly bills and expenses, and then you need to create a budget based on the least amount of money you make in a particular month or a particular quarter. You can do about month, or you can do about quarters every 3 months, and then you set your budget based on that. That way you don't overspend, and that way you ensure you have enough money to cover all of your expenses. And if you use that method and you don't have enough money for your bills, then The months where you have extra money, you need to divide that by 12 so that you have enough money to cover your bills when the months are lean.
Definitely, definitely. So guys, in case y'all didn't listen, if y'all didn't get that, go ahead, pause it right here and rewind it back and jot that down, because that can be the difference between you succeeding past that 5-year danger zone that they say entrepreneurs don't make it past. That could be your way to pass it, is making sure that you are taking adequate time looking at your finances and doing it the proper way. And so also, I know that your book is titled How to Get Out of Debt, Get an A Credit Rating for Free. Now, what prompted this particular book?
What prompted the book is that I was going through my own financial issues. I got into debt when I went to college, and by the time I graduated, I was $19,000 in debt, and I got my first job. I was making $21,000, so my debt was almost equal to my salary.
Yeah.
And so everything was going well. I was making the minimum payments, but then I lost my job. So that's how I got introduced to debt and credit issues. And so when I lost my job, creditors were calling my house saying asking for payments. And so once I regained employment, I set myself up on a strict budget. I set up payment plans with all of my creditors. I got a part-time job in addition to my full-time job. I took my lunch to work every day. I didn't buy any new clothes. I didn't go to the hairdresser. I didn't go out to eat. I didn't go out with my friends. I just really buckled down and focused on paying off my debt. And the first year was really difficult, but I was able to pay off all of the smaller debts, and then I was able to focus on the larger debts. And it took about 4 years, but I was able to pay everything off, restore my credit. And then I went on to purchase a car, and start my business.
Awesome. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Because that was discipline. That was discipline.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that was discipline. And we know that journey, that is literally what you need to have. Either accountability or discipline. You got to have one or the other. You either need to have somebody connected to you. And I'm not talking about your good girlfriend that's going to say, oh, we had a bad day, let's go shopping. No, I mean some real accountability of somebody that's going to come pop your hand if they need to, pluck you in the forehead, right in the middle of your forehead if they have to tell you, no, you don't need to shop. No, you don't need to spend that extra money to order out. No, you don't need a new dress. What's wrong with the dresses you have in your closet?
Yes.
What's wrong with that one? Let's use that one. Let's go with that one. It's different if you've gained weight, lost weight, and you need to go and get new things. We can understand that as women. I'm listen, we get it. But when you decide, and I think that's the biggest piece of it, and Harrine just said that, when you make that decision that I'm going to get this done, ain't nothing going to stop me. It's nothing going to stop me. Now, I'm sure you've had some obstacles along that path. So was there anything that almost derailed that process for you?
Yes. I made the mistake of telling my friends and my boyfriend at the time and my family that I was writing a book. And I have to say most of them did not support me. They thought, it wasn't a smart idea. It's hard to write a book. You're not going to do well with it. You shouldn't waste your time. You should focus on something else. And so I basically had to take the journey on my own. And then after, I wrote my book, it was published, and I got into bookstores, and I did a book tour and got media interviews. Then everyone, was so proud of me. But I didn't have that support in the beginning. And so after I did it, I'm like, well, thanks, but I don't really need it now. I needed it when I was going through it. So to anyone who wants to write a book, I would say that it's a hard journey. There'll be ups and downs, there'll be ebbs and flows, but you have to stay persistent. You have to stay focused on your goal, and you have to just keep pushing through the hard times.
That is so true. And oh my goodness, I know that when I did my first book, it was an 8-year journey. And, I started, I stopped. I started, I stopped, because I would get sidetracked. Oh, is anybody going to buy this book? Like, these are just some of the things that you go through on your own. So to not have people support you on top of what you're already battling in your mind, it's a lot. It is a lot. And you have a lot of people that they never wrote the book because they went through that process and they just couldn't handle it. You have people that went to their grave never publishing one book, but they had loads and loads of wisdom. Loads of wisdom. And it went to the grave with them. And so I know that it is a process. Yes, it's not easy. Yes, there are things that you have to go through. There's some stumbling blocks, but to leave this earth with all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom that you have. And I mean, a lot of people think that they don't have any information, they don't have anything to give, but you do. To leave this earth with all the knowledge and wisdom that you have. And you could have helped so many people. Just even if you publish one book and 10 people buy that book, that's 10 lives that could have been changed. And so with that being said, what has been your greatest moment from publishing your book?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question. I have to say my best moment is the first time I walked into the bookstore and saw my book on the bookshelf. That was probably the greatest moment.
It's that big Kool-Aid grin.
Yes, and actually I saw my book on the bookshelf, and someone had picked up my book and was reading the back cover, and so I didn't say anything to them. I just smiled and I, picked up the book and pretended like I was a customer, and that was just the best feeling.
Wow. And guys, you can have that feeling. You can have that moment. And for some, you may never want your stuff in bookstores. You may just want it virtually. Or I know right now with everyone doing self-publishing and with there not being as many bookstores as there once were, there are other options. You can have your books in libraries. You can have it, in so many different places. What did we start off the interview today by saying is that do the research. Where can you be the most help for people? And what else can you do? Now, you guys did hear her say that she does other things. She does workshops. She goes to schools. She goes to churches, and she does other things besides just selling the book. Because we already had that discussion that people think that they can get rich by just selling the book, and it takes a whole lot for you to get rich by selling the book. But there's so many things outside of just the book that help provide an income and steady revenue for yourself. But again, you have to be willing to do the research, and you got to be disciplined. I can say that I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. I want to be a full-time author, and it will mean absolutely nothing if I'm not marketing on a regular basis. If I'm not doing interviews. We know that she has been interviewed on several platforms. She's been a guest on NPR, CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC, and TV One, as well as been in major publications like Forbes, Market Watch, Newsday, MSN Money. the Washington Post, the Huffington Post, the Wall Street Journal. You have to do the work. It doesn't always just come to you. You have to do some work. And when you get into these publications and people start to learn your name and you start to do these interviews, guess what? You set yourself up for success. Set yourself up for success. So with that being said, what is coming down the line for you? What's next on the horizon?
So what's next on the horizon is, because we're in a digital age, I am working to develop digital products, online financial products that people can buy and use on their own, developing videos and just a lot of online content because people are moving to digital products. So that's what I'm working on for 2018. And I'm also working on a second book.
Oh, yes. I always get excited when people tell me that they're working on another book, like, because it's amazing, because, you know, you put so much energy into putting out that first book. Some people just go, that's it, I'm done. I can't do anymore. One and done. That's all you get from me. But that is amazing. That is amazing. Some great things coming down the pipeline. And guys, you guys, listen, connect. I want Harrine to tell you guys where you can find her on social media and also how to get her book. And then connect with her. Guys, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity. You take advantage of the opportunity when it arises. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, awesome. So I'm on Twitter at Harrine. I'm on LinkedIn, Harrine Freeman. I'm on Facebook, H.E. Freeman Enterprises. And I also have a page, Get an A Credit Rating for Free, on Facebook. My website is HEFreemanenterprises.com. The name of my book is How to Get Out of Debt, Get an A Credit Rating for Free. And my book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's on Nook, it's on Kindle, it's on iTunes, it's on eBookit, it's on Kobo, it's on every platform. So that's where you can find me. And if you would like to call me, you can reach me at 1-866-866-HARRINE. That's 1-866-HARRINE. And again, my name is Harrine Freeman.
I am so excited. Oh my goodness. So guys, now is the opportunity. I know we are like rounding out 2017. We're almost at the end. It's like the finish line is right there before us. Guys, whatever didn't work this year, it's okay. Take it, learn from it, grow from it. But next year, hit the ground running. If it's writing the book, if it's starting the business, if it's going and speaking in front of 5 people or 5,000, take advantage of the opportunity, connect with the right people, because guess what? It can make all the difference, not just for you, but for somebody else. And so those of you who would love to be on the platform for your interview, by all means, go to bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast, all lowercase. That's bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast. You can join on by going and choosing what date you would like to be on. And guess what? If you're catching this via live or via replay, we always appreciate you guys. I always come back and engage with you guys on the comments. If you're connecting with me on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and all of Ms. Harrine's information will be in the description box. If you're catching this on LinkedIn or on Pinterest, I appreciate you guys as well. Don't forget that you can always leave a comment or connect with me, and if you didn't get their information, I'll make sure to send it right on over. I appreciate you guys. And before we go, as always, don't forget to press it out. Until next time, guys.